Hi, wrestling fans. This is Bill Dundee. So when you're around town, you tune in to IYHWrestling.com, and I promise you won't be disappointed.
All right, we're back. Welcome to In Your Head Wrestling Radio. I'm the internet icon, handsome Jackie Jones, along with my right-hand man.
1-inch biceps, the power goat. How about it?
Not too bad, not too bad. Making his third appearance here on In Your Head. He was the guest on the very first Live In Your Head 2005, the Mouse of the South, Jimmy Hart. How you doing?
Man, I'm great. You know, my good friend Sherman, he called me and he said, Jimmy, you know, I'm the executive producer of course, Memphis Heat. You got to do me a favor. Call my boys over at In Your Head tonight. Give them a little see what's happening with the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. So you know what I said? I said, I'll call them. I won't even call Collect. So I just want to let you know I'm doing this for Sherman, but I love you guys. What's going on, baby?
Excellent. I want to let everybody know I saw the documentary, and I loved it. And it's a little different than a lot of the documentaries that are out there. It's really positive. It's like a celebration of the wrestling business, and it's you can get the DVD. It's out now at memphis-heat.com. And have you seen the finished project?
You know, I really have. I came down for one of the premieres of it. We did a couple of sellouts back to back, but you know what I like about it? I said, you know, I've never done drugs. I don't even drink liquor. What a dull life, right? But I forgot that I did a lot of stuff that I saw in the DVD, in the documentary. I forgot a lot of things I did with Lawler and some of the things that we did with Jackie Fargo. So it was a great walk for me down memory lane. So I thought they did a really, really good piece of it. I was in Jonesboro, Arkansas Saturday, and for the Rick Springfield deal, we did a big promotion up there because I'm doing this coming Saturday, Rocktoberfest, which is up in Dyersburg, of course, and rock bands and wrestling and everything, and having a lot of fun. Billy Superstar Dundee will be on the show with me, but you know, everybody that came up to me in Jonesboro had watched Memphis wrestling at one time or another. It was just so great to be back in Jonesboro and talk to a lot of our Memphis wrestling fans.
Mm-hmm. Now, somebody in the documentary is Sputnik Monroe, and did you spend any time around him? This is a very interesting story.
Oh, my gosh. Well, really, before I got into professional wrestling, I was in a group called the Gentress. We had a meeting summer called Keep On Dancing, and I was over at Sam Phillips' studio with Knox Phillips one day, and while we were over there, he said, look, would you do me a favor? He said, Sputnik Monroe's car's in the shop, and he's going to be going to Blytheville, Arkansas Friday night. Could you give him a ride over there? So I said, sure. I was in school then. And I said, yeah. So I got my friend Ronnie Thorne, and we gave Sputnik a ride over to Blytheville, Arkansas. Well, I didn't know anything that was heel and babyface back then, good guy, bad guy. And me and Ronnie Thorne drove Sputnik up, and all the people were yelling at us and spitting at us and booing us, and I thought, man, I wonder what this is all about. And we sat down at ringside, and the whole time people would kind of brush up against us and bump us, and I was going, man, this is weird. And we got ready to match is over. We went out and got in the car, and there was dirt all over the cars. All four of my tires were flat. Somebody left their eye out of them, so that was my first appearance being with Sputnik Monroe back then. But, you know, I always knew I loved professional wrestling, and who would ever believe that Jimmy Hart, after his music career, would get into the crazy world of wrestling.
Yeah. Can you explain what it's like, you know, the name's Memphis Heat, the name of the movie, what it was like, you know, the first couple times you went out there and people are really booing you?
Well, you know what? I really enjoyed the wrestling business very much, and, of course, I managed Jerry the King Lawler in Memphis when I first got into business, and, you know, coming from the musical group, I was kind of having fun with it anyhow because, you know, we'd been on stage with Dick Clark. We'd toured with all the Dick Clark shows back in the day, and did Hullabaloo Shindig where the action is, so I was used to being in front of an audience. But being on live TV, there was nothing like it. I never will forget when I really turned full-fledged heel when Jerry the King Lawler broke his leg, and Jerry Jarrett came to me and said, buddy, we're fixing to make you the biggest thing ever in the history of wrestling in Memphis, Tennessee until Lawler gets back. He said, you're going to have to carry this territory on your back, Jimmy Hart. And, of course, I went, oh, my gosh. And so we went on TV, and I said those famous words, what do you do when a horse breaks his leg? Because Jerry Lawler had broke his leg that week, and, of course, he was in the hospital. And I crowned handsome Jimmy Valiant. Well, I was going to crown handsome Jimmy the new king of wrestling, but I crowned one of my guys, Paul Ellering. So Dundee and Handsome joined up against Paul Ellering, myself, and a couple of other guys, and we had a great run until the king came back.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you went full-fledged heel like that, did you were you ever afraid of any of the fans? Did anyone ever try to get at you?
Well, I was always very cautious, but they got at me like they did all the other managers and bad guys. We every week my house was toilet paper. Every other week my mailbox was pulled out. My son, Jimmy Hart Jr., when he was a youngster going to school, some kids pushed him down the slide and knocked his 2 front teeth out. And later on in life, after he came back from being over in Afghanistan on one of the tours, he said, Dad, I have to tell you this. Oh, I said, you would have put a curse on me when you named me Jimmy Hart Jr., because every Saturday after wrestling on Monday when I went to school, all the kids were making fun of me, going, your daddy did this, and your daddy did this, and Jerry Lawler beat your daddy up, and he did this and did that. So I never really realized what my kids went through back then. But, it was a lot of fun, and it was kind of wild and crazy. But you know what? I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
Yeah. Greg Price sent in a question here. Wants to know, what was it like reuniting with the Glamour Girls in Atlanta?
I love the Glamour Girls, and plus I love being on the shows for Greg Price. He does such a great job for all of his shows. I was up in Charlotte with one of them, and it was just awesome. And, of course, being with the Glamour Girls down there, Judy Martin and Lonnie Kai. Quick story, they were wrestling up in New York, and we had a group coming in called the Jumping Bomb Angels, and we really didn't have anybody to fight them at the time. So I had gone to Pat Patterson and said, Pat, I've got an idea. I said, can I take Judy and Lonnie and bleach their hair blonde, put gold outfits on them, and I'd love to manage them myself. I wrote a song for them called We Are the Glamour Girls, Welcome to Our World, and they let me manage them. And, buddy, we had a great run with the Jumping Bomb Angels, but both those girls could really go, and sometimes the girls like them don't get their just due, but they're just wonderful, and I had so much fun at Greg Price's shows. He's awesome.
Oh, definitely. We've been to the last 6, and we'll be there next year for I guess it's going to be the last one, which is too bad, but we'll definitely be there. Intro, did you have a question from the board?
Yeah, Raymond Hernandez from Facebook. He wants to know if Jimmy was ever scared to get in the ring with somebody.
You know what? Let me tell you something. I really trusted everybody I was really with. You know what I mean? Because everybody really protected me and took care of me. And like I said, some of the small towns that we used to go to, like Jonesboro and Blytheville, because, I always carried a jar of peanut butter in my bag. And people said, why? Because I said, any given night, besides beer thrown on it, which you could wash that off, but people would really throw gum a lot. And it'd stick in your hair. When it stuck in your hair, you didn't want to cut your hair all the time. And so peanut butter, if you get gum in your hair, put peanut butter in your hair and start twisting around, it gets it right out. So every good wrestling manager needs a good jar of peanut butter. But, everywhere was great back then. It really was. And the guys really watched over me. They really did.
Mm-hmm. Now, I was going to ask you this because it was on a recent Legends of Wrestling where Michael Hayes said that the King burned his hair with his fireball. Did anytime you ever get because you had the long hair too, did you ever get your hair singed by any fireballs?
You better believe it. Got singed a lot. When I was managing the Iron Sheik, the Iron Sheik was in Memphis before he went to New York, of course, and I managed him down here, and we had a fire versus fire match one time, and Lawler was throwing fire at us, and we were running in Evansville, and I was running 90 miles an hour, and the Sheik was trying to throw the fire on Lawler, but he couldn't because his hands were sopping wet from the match, and it was pretty crazy, but a couple of times you got your eyebrows singed or, your hair singed, but, that was all part of the game.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you left Memphis to go to the WWF, and WWF at the time, WWB now, and you talked on the documentary that, Lawler wasn't happy, did you guys ever make amends? Are you guys friends today?
Oh, I love the King, and, we really did, but Lawler really wasn't so mad at me. He'd been over in Japan for a tour. Jerry Jarrett was out hunting and bad weather that week, and they'd sent me the tapes to kind of run the show that Saturday, and which I did. But in the meantime, I'd already gone to sign a deal with New York because they had watched my tapes, and I flew up there, signed with them, and I told Vince McMahon, I said, Vince, I could start next Monday, but I have to go back home Saturday. And he said, why? And I said, because there's nobody there to run the show, and they asked would I do it, and I'm doing it with Lance Russell. And he said, you know what, I like that about you, because he said, if you protect them like that, then I know you'll always protect the WWF, of course, which back then WWE now. So he let me come back. I went back and did the whole show, and I thought I'd be cool by getting myself suspended. So that's when I dumped the big bag of powder on Lance's head, run underneath the ring for the whole show, and wouldn't come out. And I thought that would be a great idea to get out of the territory without just walking out. But they didn't agree to it like that. They tried to get me to come down to Memphis to let I believe Eddie Gilbert kind of did the loser leave town for me, but I wasn't falling for that one, brother. I'll tell you that right now. It's like Dutch Man said, Dutch Mantel says he was born at night, but not last night. But so, everything worked out okay. Lawler and I've still always been friends, and I love him to death. If it wasn't for him, I'd have never been in the wrestling business. And I've only had two promoters in my life, Jerry Jarrett, who I love dearly and learned a lot from him, and, of course, Vince McMahon, who is a genius. And I don't use that word very, very loosely. He's great.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, I still do a lot of stuff for WWE now. I still do some personal appearances for him, radio and TV, and I just appeared on SummerSlam with R-Truth about 6 weeks ago doing a little thing on Little Jimmy.
Yeah. Now, I just want to tell you this because I've been doing the show for 6 years, a lot of guests on, and everyone always says you're the nicest guy. No one ever has anything bad to say about you.
Well, you know what? I'm sure we probably stepped on some toes, but I've always tried to. I love the business more than anything in the world, and I've been so blessed being with Lawler, being with Andy Kaufman, and having a chance to go to New York and managing Hulk Hogan and the Honky Tonk Man and the Hart Foundation, just to mention a few. But all the guys that came from Memphis, my nightmares, Danny Davis and Ken Wayne, my gosh, the Assassins, when I had those guys, just Coco Beware, Norvell, Austin. I mean, I just talked to Austin Idol the day before yesterday. He called me, and having Wayne Ferris in Memphis, when he was doing the Kisser, the gimmick like Kiss, and Kevin Sullivan came through there. But just so many people came through there that have really helped me so much, because I wouldn't be talking to you on the phone today if it wasn't for all of my early days in Memphis and all the people that really helped me and watched over me, and of course lasting that long as I did in New York and still back and forth up there with them. So I've really been blessed. I look in the mirror every day and say, did I really get paid for doing this?
So one last question from the chat room. Van, he wants to know, did you always have the same guy doing your the airbrushing on your jacket, and which one was your favorite?
Well, all my jackets were a little bit different. The reason I did all my colorful jackets and stuff, even in Memphis, and especially when I got to New York and WCW, was because when I was in the group of Gentrys, we toured a couple of times with the Beach Boys and Sonny and Cher, and I'll never will forget Dick Clark being in a room with us, and he said, look, when you're on that stage, be on time, be dependable, give the audience everything you got. But just remember one thing. If you dress like the audience, one day you're going to wind up sitting in the audience, which means be colorful. Give the people their money's worth. I never forgot that. So when I went into wrestling, the business, I just wanted to add that little bitty extra touch to it that maybe some of the other guys didn't do.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we want to thank you for coming on here, the original straight edge superstar here, Jimmy Hart. And, you get the Memphis Heat DVD over at memphis-heat.com. Were you going to say something? Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say I love you guys, and remember, before I leave, never trust a midget.
It's always wise words. Thanks, man.
See ya.
See ya.
This is Bob Caudle, and you're listening to In Your Head